The telegram arrived on a Tuesday morning in March of 1882, and Isaac Kellerman stood in the dusty office of the Abilene postmaster, holding a piece of paper that represented either his salvation or his damnation. His calloused fingers traced the words again, confirming what he had read 3 times already. The woman he had been corresponding with for 6 months, the mail-order bride who had written such thoughtful, gentle letters about starting a new life together, had a reputation that preceded her arrival by exactly 2 weeks. The whispers had started the moment someone in town received word that Beatrice Lawson was coming from St. Louis. Isaac had heard the talk in the saloon, at the general store, even at church. The women clutched their shawls tighter and whispered behind gloved hands. The men exchanged knowing looks and made crude jokes when they thought he could not hear. Beatrice Lawson, they said, had been involved in some scandal back east. The details varied depending on who was telling the story. Some said she had been a saloon girl of questionable morals. Others claimed she had run off with a married man and left him destitute. A few of the more creative gossips suggested she had been involved in some sort of confidence scheme, bilking lonely men out of their money and disappearing into the night. Isaac stood 6 feet 2 inches tall, with shoulders broadened by years of working cattle and building up his ranch from nothing. At 28 years old, he had carved out a decent life for himself on the Texas plains, 3 miles outside of Abilene. His ranch was not the largest in the territory, but it was his, and he had built the house with his own 2 hands, imagining the day when it would be filled with more than just his own solitary footsteps. His dark hair was perpetually wind-blown, and his gray eyes had a directness to them that made most people either trust him immediately or avoid him altogether. He had never been good with words, never been the type of man who could charm a woman with pretty speeches. That was why he had turned to the mail-order bride service in the first place. Writing letters gave him time to think, to choose his words carefully. And Beatrice's letters had been everything he could have hoped for. Intelligent, warm, with a quiet humor that made him smile even after a brutal day of mending fences and chasing down strays. Now, everyone was telling him to send her back the moment she arrived. The preacher's wife had cornered him after Sunday service, her face pinched with concern, warning him about the kind of woman who would answer a mail-order bride advertisement. His closest neighbor, an older rancher named Dutch Morrison, had clapped him on the shoulder and told him there were other agencies, other women without shadows following them. Isaac folded the telegram and put it in his shirt pocket. The stage was due in 2 hours. Beatrice would be on it, traveling alone across hostile territory to meet a man she had never seen, trusting in the words they had exchanged and the promise of a fresh start. He could meet her at the station and turn her away, as everyone seemed to expect. He could hand her money for return passage and go back to his empty house and his empty life. Or he could do what his gut was telling him to do. He walked out of the post office into the bright Texas sunshine. Abilene was bustling with the usual midday activity. Wagons rolled down the wide dirt street, kicking up dust that hung in the air like a veil. Cowboys fresh off the trail whooped and hollered as they headed toward the saloons. Respectable families went about their business, the women in their proper dresses and bonnets, the men in suits despite the heat. Isaac untied his horse, a sturdy roan gelding named Copper, and swung into the saddle. He had 2 hours, which gave him just enough time to ride home, clean himself up, and get back to town to meet the stage. He touched his heels to Copper's sides and headed out of town at an easy lope. The ranch house sat in a small valley with a creek running through it. Isaac had chosen the location carefully, knowing the water would be essential. The house was simple but solid. 2 bedrooms, a main room that served as kitchen and sitting area, and a small porch that faced east to catch the morning sun. He had built a barn and several corrals, and his herd of cattle, while modest, was healthy and growing. Inside, he stripped off his work shirt and poured water from the pitcher into the basin. He scrubbed his face and hands, then put on a clean shirt, one of the 2 he owned that did not have patches or stains from ranch work. He looked at himself in the small mirror above the basin and wondered what Beatrice would see when she first laid eyes on him. A rough cowboy, probably. A man who smelled of horses and leather and the wide open plains. Not the kind of man a woman from the city would find appealing, but she had agreed to come. Whatever had happened in St. Louis, whatever truth lay behind the rumors, she had chosen to leave it all and travel to Texas to marry him. He rode back to town with 30 minutes to spare before the stage was due. Rather than wait at the station, where the gossiping crowd would be gathering, Isaac stopped at the general store. Martha Henderson, who ran the store with her husband, looked up from the counter with a sympathetic expression. "Isaac," she said quietly, "you sure you want to go through with this?" "I am sure," he said. "I need to buy some supplies." He selected a few items: fresh bread, some preserves, coffee, a bolt of fabric in a soft blue color that reminded him of the sky just after sunrise. Martha wrapped everything carefully, her lips pressed together as if holding back words. "That is a pretty fabric," she finally said. "Any woman would be pleased to receive it." "I hope so," Isaac said. He paid and carried his purchases back to his horse. The crowd was already gathering near the stage office. Isaac could see clusters of women, their heads together, talking in that animated way that meant they were discussing something scandalous. Some of the men lounged against the buildings, trying to look casual but clearly curious about the woman who was arriving. The stage rumbled into view right on time, 6 horses pulling the dusty coach down the main street. The driver pulled the team to a halt in front of the office, and the shotgun guard jumped down to open the door. 3 passengers disembarked. First was a traveling salesman, his suit wrinkled from the journey. Second was an older gentleman who looked like a lawyer or banker. And third was a woman. Beatrice Lawson stepped down from the stage with one gloved hand holding her skirts and the other gripping a small carpet bag. She was smaller than Isaac had imagined, perhaps 5 feet 4 inches tall, with a slender build that somehow suggested strength rather than fragility. Her dress was plain brown traveling clothes, dusty from the journey, and her dark blonde hair was pulled back in a simple bun beneath a practical bonnet. But it was her face that made Isaac forget to breathe for a moment. She was not beautiful in the conventional way that people usually meant. Her features were too strong for that. A determined chin, a straight nose, and eyes that were a startling shade of green. But there was something in her face that spoke of courage and intelligence, and a fierce kind of hope that made Isaac's chest tighten. Those green eyes scanned the crowd, clearly looking for someone. Isaac saw the exact moment when uncertainty flickered across her expression, when she realized that a substantial portion of the town had turned out to witness her arrival. The whispers rose like a wave, and several women actually turned their backs, a deliberate cut that made Beatrice's shoulders stiffen. Isaac stepped forward. He removed his hat and held it in his hands, a gesture of respect his mother had taught him long ago. "Miss Lawson," he said. Her eyes found him, and for a long moment they simply looked at each other. Isaac saw wariness in her gaze and something else. Exhaustion, maybe, or resignation, as if she had been bracing herself for rejection. "Mr. Kellerman," she said. Her voice was lower than he expected, with a slight rasp to it, as if she had been crying or had not slept well. "Yes, madam." He gestured toward Copper and the small wagon he had brought to carry her trunk. "I have a wagon for your things." "I only have the one trunk," she said, "and this bag." The stage driver was already unloading luggage. Isaac spotted a battered trunk that had seen better days and moved to collect it. It was heavier than he expected, and he wondered what she had brought with her from her old life. He loaded it into the wagon while Beatrice stood alone on the wooden sidewalk, surrounded by hostile stares and whispered judgments. Isaac returned to her side and offered his arm. "May I help you to the wagon?" She looked at his arm, then at his face. "You know," she said quietly. "You have heard what they are saying about me." "I have heard talk," Isaac acknowledged. "Talk is cheap out here." "It might not be just talk," Beatrice said. "You should know that before we go any further." The crowd was listening now, straining to hear every word. Isaac was acutely aware of their audience, of the judgment radiating from every direction. He looked down at Beatrice and saw that she was trembling slightly, though whether from exhaustion, fear, or anger he could not tell. "I have a proposal," Isaac said. "Let me take you to my ranch. You can rest from your journey, have a proper meal, and we can talk. If after we talk you want to go back, I will pay your passage and no hard feelings. If after we talk, I want you to go back, I will still pay your passage and give you extra to help you get settled somewhere else. But either way, we will make the decision ourselves, not based on what other people think they know." Something in Beatrice's expression shifted. The wariness did not disappear, but it was joined by something else. Surprise, maybe, or the faint stirring of hope. "That is more than fair," she said softly. "That is more than I expected." She took his arm, and Isaac felt the light weight of her hand through his sleeve. He helped her into the wagon seat, then climbed up beside her. As he took up the reins, he glanced at the crowd one more time. Most of them looked disappointed, as if they had been expecting a dramatic confrontation. A few looked disapproving, particularly the women who had already made up their minds about Beatrice's character. Isaac did not care. He clicked his tongue and Copper started forward, pulling the wagon out of town and toward the open plains. They rode in silence for the first mile. Isaac was hyper-aware of Beatrice sitting beside him, of the careful way she held herself upright despite what must have been bone-deep exhaustion from the journey. The road stretched out before them, rutted and dusty, with the vast Texas sky overhead and the rolling grassland on either side. "It is beautiful," Beatrice said finally. "I have never seen so much open space." "It takes some getting used to," Isaac said. "Some people find it lonely." "I imagine it could be," Beatrice said. "But there is something freeing about it too, all that space, all that sky. Like you could be anyone out here, like the past does not matter as much as what you do next." Isaac glanced at her. "Is that why you came, to leave the past behind?" Beatrice was quiet for a long moment. "Yes," she said finally, "and because your letters were kind. You wrote about building something, creating a life from nothing. That appealed to me, the idea of starting fresh." "Then we have that in common," Isaac said. "I came to Texas 5 years ago with almost nothing, built my ranch from the ground up. Every fence post, every board in that house, I put it there with my own hands." "You must be very proud," Beatrice said. "I am satisfied," Isaac said. "But a ranch is not meant to be run alone. It is meant to be a home, and a home needs more than one person to make it complete." They reached the ranch as the sun was beginning its descent toward the western horizon. Isaac helped Beatrice down from the wagon and saw her looking at the house with an expression he could not quite read. "It is not much," he said, "but it is solid. The roof does not leak and the stove draws well." "It is lovely," Beatrice said, and she sounded sincere. "You built this yourself?" "Every bit of it," Isaac said. He carried her trunk inside and set it down in the main room. "The bedroom there is yours. I will sleep out here on the settee." Beatrice looked startled. I assumed we would be married immediately. I assumed we would talk first, Isaac said. Like I said in town, I want us both to be sure. Marriage is not something to rush into just because you traveled a long way. He saw her eyes fill with sudden tears, though she blinked them back quickly. You are a very unusual man, Mr. Kellerman. Isaac, he said. Please call me Isaac. Isaac, she repeated. And you should call me Beatrice, or B if you prefer. My friends used to call me B. She paused. When I still had friends. Isaac moved to the stove and began building up the fire. I will make us some coffee and heat up some stew. You must be starving after that journey. When did you last eat? Yesterday afternoon, Beatrice admitted. The stage stopped at a way station, but I was not very hungry. Too nervous? Isaac asked. Something like that. Isaac worked in silence, stoking the fire and setting the coffee pot on to boil. He ladled stew from the pot he had made the day before into 2 bowls and set them on the table along with the fresh bread he had bought at the store. Beatrice had removed her bonnet and was looking around the room with interest. You have books, she said, surprise evident in her voice. She moved to the small shelf where Isaac kept his modest collection. I like to read, Isaac said. Gets lonely out here in the evenings. A good book is pleasant company. Beatrice ran her finger along the spines. Shakespeare, Dickens, some Twain, and this one 2 years before the mast. I have not read that one. It is about a man who goes to sea, Isaac said. I like stories about people who challenge themselves, who push beyond what they thought they could do. Is that what you are doing out here? Beatrice asked. Challenging yourself, I suppose so, Isaac said. My family back in Kansas thought I was crazy to come to Texas, but I wanted to prove I could build something of my own. Come sit down. Let us eat while it is hot. They sat across from each other at the simple wooden table. Isaac watched as Beatrice took her first spoonful of stew and saw relief cross her face. This is very good, she said. You are a good cook. A man learns to cook when he lives alone, Isaac said. Otherwise he starves or spends all his money eating in town. They ate in comfortable silence for a few minutes. Isaac found himself relaxing slightly. Beatrice had good manners, but there was nothing pretentious about her. She ate like someone who was genuinely hungry, not picking at her food in the way he had heard city ladies sometimes did. So, Isaac said finally, do you want to tell me what happened in St. Louis? Beatrice set down her spoon carefully. Do you want to know, or would you rather just believe the rumors? I want to know the truth, Isaac said, whatever it is. Beatrice took a deep breath. The truth is complicated, but I will tell you all of it, and then you can decide what you want to do. She folded her hands in her lap, and Isaac saw that they were shaking slightly. I was engaged to a man named Gerald Winters. He was from a good family, had good prospects. My parents were thrilled with the match. I thought I was lucky. She paused, clearly gathering her courage to continue. Gerald was charming in public. In private, he was different. He had a temper. He would get angry over small things, and when he was angry, he would. She touched her wrist absently. He would grab me, hard enough to leave bruises. He would say terrible things. But then he would apologize and bring me gifts and tell me it would never happen again. Isaac felt a hot anger building in his chest, but he kept his face neutral, not wanting to interrupt her. I tried to call off the engagement, Beatrice continued, but my parents would not hear of it. They said all couples had disagreements, that I was being dramatic. Gerald's family had money, you see, and my family did not have much. It was a good match, they said. I should be grateful. So what did you do? Isaac asked quietly. I ran away, Beatrice said simply. 3 weeks before the wedding, I took what little money I had saved and I left. I went to a boarding house on the other side of the city and looked for work. I found a position as a seamstress. It did not pay much, but it was enough to keep me fed and housed. That does not sound scandalous, Isaac said. That is not the scandalous part, Beatrice said. Gerald found me. He came to the boarding house and demanded I come back. When I refused, he started telling people that I had run off with another man. He said I had stolen money from him. He told everyone who would listen that I was a woman of loose morals, that I had been unfaithful, that I was not to be trusted. She met Isaac's eyes directly. None of it was true, but the damage was done. I lost my position at the dress shop because the owner said my presence was bad for business. The landlady at the boarding house asked me to leave because the other tenants were complaining. Everywhere I went, the rumors followed me. Why did you not tell people the truth? Isaac asked. I tried, Beatrice said. But who was going to believe me? I was a woman with no family support, no money, no connections. Gerald was from a prominent family. His word carried weight. Mine did not. She picked up her spoon again but did not eat, just held it as if needing something to do with her hands. I was desperate. I saw an advertisement for a mail-order bride service. I thought if I could leave St. Louis, leave Missouri entirely, I could start over somewhere where no one knew me or Gerald or any of it. So I wrote to the service and they matched me with you. Did you tell them about Gerald? Isaac asked. I told them the engagement had ended badly, Beatrice said. I did not tell them all the details. I was afraid if I did, they would not accept me. Isaac sat back in his chair, processing everything she had told him. He believed her. Every instinct he had said she was telling the truth. He had seen men like Gerald Winters before, men who hid their cruelty behind charm and social standing. And he had seen how quickly a woman's reputation could be destroyed, how easily rumors spread and took root. How did the people in Abilene find out? He asked. Gerald's family has connections everywhere, Beatrice said. I suspect they sent letters ahead, wanting to make sure my reputation followed me even here. They want to punish me for embarrassing them. They have no power here, Isaac said firmly. Whatever they said, whatever rumors they started, they do not matter. Beatrice looked at him with naked hope in her eyes. You believe me? I do, Isaac said, and I will tell you why. In your letters, you never tried to present yourself as perfect. You were honest about your flaws, about your fears. You told me you were not sure you would be a good ranch wife, that you had never cooked over a wood stove or dealt with cattle or lived so far from a city. Those are not the words of a woman who is trying to deceive someone. A tear slipped down Beatrice's cheek. I was so afraid you would send me back. I am not sending you anywhere, Isaac said, unless you want to go, but if you are willing, I would still like for us to try this. Get to know each other properly, see if we could make a good marriage. Beatrice wiped her eyes with her napkin. I would like that very much. Good, Isaac said. Then here is what I propose. You stay here in the spare bedroom. We spend time together, talk, work together. We court each other, I suppose, though I am not sure I know how to do that properly. And when we are both sure, when we both feel right about it, we get married. Does that sound reasonable? It sounds more than reasonable, Beatrice said. It sounds like the first truly kind thing anyone has done for me in a very long time. They finished their meal as the last light faded from the sky. Isaac showed Beatrice around the house, pointing out where things were kept, how to work the pump at the sink, how to adjust the damper on the stove. She listened carefully, asking questions, and Isaac found himself appreciating her practical intelligence. I know I have a lot to learn, Beatrice said, but I am a quick study, and I am not afraid of hard work. I can see that, Isaac said. Your hands tell me you are used to working. He had noticed the calluses on her fingers, the small scars that came from handling needles and pins. Seamstress work is harder than people think, Beatrice said, but I imagine ranch work is harder still. Different kinds of hard, Isaac said, but we will figure it out together. He left her to settle into the bedroom and made up a bed for himself on the settee in the main room. It was not the most comfortable sleeping arrangement, but he had dealt with worse. He lay awake for a long time, listening to the familiar sounds of the night, the wind in the eaves, the distant howl of a coyote, the soft movements of Beatrice in the other room as she prepared for bed. He had taken a huge risk today. If he was wrong about her, if the rumors turned out to be true, he would look like a fool. But something deep in his gut told him he was right. Beatrice was not a woman of loose morals or a confidence artist. She was someone who had been trapped in a bad situation and had found the courage to escape, and was now paying the price for that courage. Isaac understood something about that. He had left Kansas against his family's wishes, had struck out on his own when everyone told him he was making a mistake. He knew what it was like to have people doubt you, to have to prove yourself every single day. If Beatrice was willing to work for it, he was willing to give her that chance. The next morning dawned clear and bright. Isaac was up before sunrise, as was his habit. He rebuilt the fire in the stove and started coffee, then went out to tend to the animals. When he came back inside, Beatrice was up and dressed, her hair braided down her back. "Good morning," she said. "I hope I did not oversleep." "Not at all," Isaac said. "I am used to getting up early, but that does not mean you have to keep the same schedule." "I want to," Beatrice said. "If I am going to be a ranch wife, I should learn to keep ranch hours." They had breakfast together, simple fare of eggs and more of the bread from yesterday. Afterward, Isaac suggested showing her around the property. "I should warn you," he said as they walked toward the barn. "Ranch life is not glamorous. It is a lot of hard work and early mornings and dirt." "I am not afraid of dirt," Beatrice said. Isaac introduced her to his horses first. Besides Copper, he had 2 other saddle horses and a team for pulling the wagon. Then he showed her the cattle grazing in the near pasture. "How many head do you have?" Beatrice asked. "About 200 right now," Isaac said. "I am building the herd slowly, making sure I can sustain them. In a few years, I hope to have 500 or more." "That sounds like a good plan," Beatrice said. "Steady growth rather than overextending." Isaac glanced at her with surprise. "That is exactly right. How did you know?" "My father was a shopkeeper before he died," Beatrice said. "He always said the key to success was not growing too fast. Build a solid foundation first." They walked along the creek, and Isaac showed her the vegetable garden he had started, though it was still early in the season and not much was growing yet. "I am not much of a gardener," he admitted. "I can usually keep things alive, but I do not have the touch for it." "I might be able to help with that," Beatrice said. "My mother had a garden and I used to help her. I remember some of what she taught me." As they walked and talked, Isaac found himself increasingly comfortable with Beatrice. She was easy to be around, asking intelligent questions and making thoughtful observations. She did not complain about the walking or the heat or the dust. When they passed through a muddy section near the creek, she simply lifted her skirts and walked through without fussing. They were heading back toward the house when they heard the sound of horses approaching. Isaac tensed, his hand instinctively moving toward the rifle he always carried when working outside the house. But it was just Dutch Morrison, his neighbor, riding up with another man Isaac did not recognize. "Isaac," Dutch called out. He was a weathered man in his 50s with a gray beard and sharp eyes that missed nothing. "Got a minute?" "Sure, Dutch," Isaac said. He was aware of Beatrice standing slightly behind him, and he moved to include her in the conversation. "Dutch, this is Miss Beatrice Lawson. Beatrice, this is my neighbor Dutch Morrison. He has the spread just west of here." Dutch tipped his hat to Beatrice, his expression carefully neutral. "Madam." "Mr. Morrison," Beatrice said politely. The other man, younger and lean with a sheriff's star on his vest, also tipped his hat. "Madam, I am Sheriff Tom Bradley from Abilene." Isaac felt a prickle of unease. "What brings you out here, Sheriff?" "Well," Sheriff Bradley said, "I received a telegram this morning from authorities in St. Louis. Seems they have some questions about Miss Lawson here." Beatrice went very still beside Isaac. He could feel the tension radiating off her. "What kind of questions?" Isaac asked, his voice level but hard. "Questions about some stolen money," the sheriff said, "and about her character. They want to know her whereabouts." "I did not steal anything," Beatrice said, her voice shaking but firm. "That is a lie." "Now, madam, I am not saying you did or did not," Sheriff Bradley said, "but I need to investigate. That is my job." "What exactly did this telegram say?" Isaac asked. The sheriff pulled a piece of paper from his pocket. "Says here that a Miss Beatrice Lawson left St. Louis without settling her debts, and that she may have taken money belonging to one Gerald Winters, her former fiancé." "That is absolutely false," Beatrice said, color rising in her cheeks. "Gerald is lying. He is trying to punish me for leaving him." "Why would he do that, madam?" Sheriff Bradley asked. "Because he is a cruel man who does not like being told no," Beatrice said. "I broke our engagement because he hurt me. He has been spreading lies about me ever since." The sheriff looked uncomfortable. "Madam, these are serious allegations, on both sides. I am going to need to ask you some questions, and I may need to hold you in town until we can sort this out." "You are not taking her anywhere," Isaac said flatly. Sheriff Bradley's eyes narrowed. "Now, Isaac, I know you are sweet on this lady, but I have a duty here." "Your duty is to uphold the law," Isaac said. "And the law says people are innocent until proven guilty. Has anyone filed formal charges against Beatrice?" "Well, no," the sheriff admitted. "But the telegram suggests they might." "Then until they do, you have no cause to detain her," Isaac said. "Beatrice is here of her own free will. She has committed no crime in Texas, and I can personally vouch for her character." "You have known her for one day, Isaac," Dutch said quietly. "I have known her through 6 months of letters," Isaac said. "And one day in person has only confirmed what I already believed. She is a good woman who has been treated badly." Sheriff Bradley shifted in his saddle. "Look, I am not trying to cause trouble here, but I have to follow up on this. At minimum, I need to send a reply telegram asking for more information." "You do that," Isaac said. "But unless and until you have actual evidence of a crime, Beatrice stays here." The sheriff looked like he wanted to argue, but something in Isaac's stance must have convinced him it was not worth the fight. "All right, but I will be back if I hear more. And madam," he looked at Beatrice, "if you have any evidence to support your side of the story, it would be helpful." "I have nothing but my word," Beatrice said quietly, "but I am telling the truth." The two men rode off, leaving Isaac and Beatrice standing in the yard. Beatrice was shaking, and Isaac could see she was fighting to hold back tears. "They will never let me escape this," she said. "Gerald will keep coming after me, keep telling his lies until he destroys any chance I have at a new life." "He will not succeed," Isaac said firmly. "We will figure this out." "How?" Beatrice asked. "It is his word against mine, and his word carries more weight." Isaac thought for a moment. "Do you have any of his letters? Anything in writing that might show his character?" Beatrice's eyes widened. "I do. I have several letters he sent me after I left, trying to convince me to come back. Some of them were threatening. I kept them in case I ever needed proof." "Are they in your trunk?" Isaac asked. "Yes," Beatrice said. "Then let us go look at them," Isaac said. "Maybe they will be enough to counter his claims." Inside, Beatrice opened her trunk and dug through her belongings until she found a small bundle of letters tied with string. She handed them to Isaac with trembling hands. "I have not looked at these in months," she said. I kept them hidden, afraid someone would find them and use them against me somehow. Isaac untied the string and began reading. The first few letters were pleading, full of apologies and promises that Gerald would change. But as Isaac read further, the tone shifted. The later letters were angry, accusatory, full of thinly veiled threats. In one, Gerald wrote that if Beatrice did not return, he would make sure she regretted it. In another, he said he would ruin her reputation so thoroughly that no decent man would ever want her. "These are perfect," Isaac said. "They show exactly what kind of man he is." "But will anyone believe they are real?" Beatrice asked. "Could they not say I forged them?" "Not likely," Isaac said. "Look at the handwriting. Look at the paper and ink, and more importantly, look at what he says. No woman would write letters like this to herself. They are too damning to his character." Hope flickered in Beatrice's eyes. "Do you really think they will help?" "I think they will at least cast doubt on his claims," Isaac said. "Tomorrow we will ride into town and show these to the sheriff. Let him see what kind of man is making accusations." That evening they sat together on the porch and watched the sun set over the plains. The sky turned brilliant shades of orange and pink, and the air cooled from the day's heat. "Thank you," Beatrice said quietly, "for believing me, for standing up for me." "I cannot remember the last time someone did that." "You do not need to thank me," Isaac said. "It is just the right thing to do." "Most people do not do the right thing," Beatrice said. "Most people take the easy path." "My mother used to say that character is what you do when it is hard," Isaac said. "Anyone can be good when it costs them nothing." Beatrice turned to look at him, and in the fading light her green eyes seemed to glow. "Your mother sounds like she was a wise woman." "She was," Isaac said. "She died when I was 20. Fever took her. My father followed 6 months later. I think he died of a broken heart more than anything else." "I am sorry," Beatrice said. "That must have been very hard." "It was," Isaac admitted. "But it also taught me something. Life is short and uncertain. You cannot waste time on things that do not matter. You have to grab hold of what is important and not let go." "Is that why you came to Texas?" Beatrice asked. "Part of it," Isaac said. "After my parents died, there was nothing holding me in Kansas anymore. My brothers got the family farm. I got a small inheritance. I could have stayed and worked for my brothers, but I wanted something of my own. So I came here and bought this land and started building." "It must have been lonely," Beatrice said. "It was," Isaac agreed. "That is why I wrote to the mail-order bride service. I wanted someone to share this with, someone to build a life with." They sat in comfortable silence as the stars began to emerge in the darkening sky. Isaac found himself very aware of Beatrice's presence beside him, of the way the fading light caught in her hair, of the quiet strength in the way she held herself. "Can I ask you something?" Beatrice said. "Of course." "When you first saw me yesterday, when you heard all those people whispering, were you tempted to send me back?" Isaac considered the question honestly. "For about 10 seconds, yes. Not because I believed the rumors, but because I knew courting you would be harder with the whole town against us. But then I looked at your face and I saw how scared you were and how brave you were being despite that fear. And I thought, this is a woman worth fighting for." Beatrice's breath caught. "You really mean that?" "I really mean that," Isaac said. She reached over and took his hand. Her fingers were small and calloused, and they fit into his like they belonged there. They sat like that until full dark, just holding hands and watching the stars, and Isaac felt a contentment he had not experienced in years. The next morning they rode into Abilene together. Isaac had helped Beatrice saddle one of the gentler horses, and she rode well enough, though she admitted she was not very experienced. "We will practice," Isaac said. "Out here, knowing how to ride is essential." They found Sheriff Bradley in his office going through a stack of papers. He looked up when they entered and nodded greeting. "Isaac, Miss Lawson, I was just about to ride out to your place." "Why is that?" Isaac asked. "Got another telegram," the sheriff said. "This one from a lawyer representing Gerald Winters. They are threatening to pursue criminal charges unless Miss Lawson returns to St. Louis immediately." "They cannot do that," Isaac said. "What charges? Based on what evidence?" "That is just it," Sheriff Bradley said. "They have not specified. Just a lot of threatening language about theft and fraud." "Then I have something you need to see," Isaac said. He pulled out the bundle of letters and set them on the sheriff's desk. "These are letters from Gerald Winters to Beatrice, written after she left St. Louis. Read them. Particularly the last few." The sheriff picked up the letters and began reading, his expression growing increasingly grim. When he finished, he looked up at Beatrice with new respect. "Madam, I owe you an apology. This man is clearly dangerous. These letters contain threats. They show a pattern of intimidation and harassment." "So you believe me now?" Beatrice asked. "I do," the sheriff said. "And I am going to send a telegram back to St. Louis informing them that I have seen evidence of Winters' threatening behavior, and that unless they can provide actual proof of criminal activity, I will not be cooperating with their requests." Relief flooded through Isaac. "Thank you, Sheriff." "Do not thank me yet," Sheriff Bradley said. "This Winters fellow sounds like the type who does not give up easy. He may try something else." "We will deal with whatever comes," Isaac said firmly. They left the sheriff's office and walked down the main street of Abilene. Isaac noticed that people were staring, but the quality of the stares had changed slightly. Word must have spread that Isaac had not turned Beatrice away, and now people seemed curious rather than just judgmental. They stopped at the general store to pick up supplies. Martha Henderson greeted them with a cautious smile. "Good morning, Isaac. Miss Lawson." "Good morning, Martha," Isaac said. "We need some things." As they shopped, Isaac was aware of other customers watching them. Two older women whispered to each other in the corner. But then something unexpected happened. A young woman with a baby on her hip approached Beatrice. "Excuse me," she said. "You are Miss Lawson, are you not?" "I am," Beatrice said cautiously. "I just wanted to say," the young woman continued, "that I think it is very brave of you to come here and start over. My name is Sarah Collins. If you ever need a friend or just someone to talk to, I live about a mile north of town. The house with the blue shutters." Beatrice looked stunned. "Thank you, that is very kind," Sarah smiled. "Women need to stick together out here. There are too few of us as it is." She nodded to Isaac and went back to her shopping. "See," Isaac said quietly, "not everyone has made up their minds about you." "That was nice," Beatrice admitted. "Unexpected, but nice." They finished their shopping and loaded their purchases into the wagon. As they were preparing to leave, Dutch Morrison approached, leading his horse. "Isaac, Miss Lawson," he said. "Could I have a word?" "Of course, Dutch," Isaac said. The older man looked uncomfortable. "I wanted to apologize for yesterday. I should not have been so quick to doubt you, Miss Lawson, and I should have supported Isaac's judgment. He is a good man, and if he vouches for you, that should be enough." "Thank you, Mr. Morrison," Beatrice said. "That means a great deal." "Call me Dutch," he said. "Everyone does. And if you two need anything at all, you just let me know. We are neighbors, and neighbors look out for each other." As they rode back to the ranch, Beatrice seemed lighter somehow, as if a weight had been lifted from her shoulders. "People are coming around," she said. "I did not expect that." "Most people are decent at heart," Isaac said. "They just need time to see the truth." The days began to settle into a rhythm. Isaac would rise early and tend to the animals, then come in for breakfast with Beatrice. She proved to be a quick learner, mastering the wood stove and starting to experiment with different recipes. Together, they worked on repairing fences, tending the garden, and managing the daily tasks that kept the ranch running. In the evenings, they would sit on the porch or by the fire, depending on the weather, and talk. They talked about everything: their childhoods, their dreams, their fears, their hopes for the future. Isaac found himself opening up to Beatrice in ways he had never opened up to anyone, sharing thoughts and feelings he had kept locked away for years, and Beatrice bloomed under the attention. The wariness gradually left her eyes, replaced by a growing confidence. She laughed more often, a bright sound that Isaac grew to treasure. She proved to have a dry wit and a talent for storytelling that kept him entertained. 2 weeks after Beatrice's arrival, Isaac came in from the morning chores to find her in the kitchen, covered in flour with a triumphant smile on her face. "I made bread," she announced, "from scratch, and it actually rose properly." Isaac inspected the loaves cooling on the counter. They looked perfect, golden brown with a crisp crust. He broke off a piece and tasted it. It was delicious, light and flavorful. "This is excellent," he said sincerely. "Better than anything I ever made." Beatrice beamed with pride. "I finally got the hang of your stove. It heats differently than the one I used in St. Louis, but I think I understand it now." That afternoon, while they were working in the garden together, Isaac found himself watching Beatrice as she carefully planted seeds. The sun caught the gold highlights in her hair, and there was dirt smudged on her cheek. She looked happy, he realized, genuinely happy in a way that made something in his chest tighten. "What are you looking at?" Beatrice asked, glancing up and catching him staring. "You," Isaac said honestly. "I was thinking how well you fit here, like you were always meant to be on this ranch." Beatrice sat back on her heels, her eyes searching his face. "I feel that way too. I feel more at home here in 2 weeks than I ever felt in St. Louis." "Beatrice," Isaac said, setting down the tool he was holding. "I know we said we would take our time, get to know each other properly, but I need you to know something. I care about you, more than I thought possible in such a short time." "I care about you too," Beatrice said softly. "You have given me something I thought I had lost forever: hope." Isaac moved closer to her, kneeling in the dirt of the garden. "I want to marry you, Beatrice. I want you to be my wife, truly and completely. Not because we made an arrangement through a mail order service, but because I cannot imagine my life without you in it now." Tears spilled down Beatrice's cheeks. "Are you sure? What about Gerald and the rumors and everything else?" "I do not care about any of that," Isaac said. "I care about you, about us, about building a life together. Say yes, Beatrice." "Yes," she whispered. "Yes, Isaac, I will marry you." He leaned forward and kissed her, gentle and careful, a promise sealed. When they broke apart, both were smiling. "We should probably go see the preacher," Isaac said. "Make this official." "Right now?" Beatrice asked. "Right now," Isaac confirmed. "Unless you want to wait." "I have waited long enough," Beatrice said. "Let us go." They cleaned up quickly and rode into town. The sun was still high in the afternoon sky when they walked into the church. Reverend Matthews, an older gentleman with kind eyes, looked surprised to see them. "Isaac, Miss Lawson, what brings you here?" "We want to get married, Reverend," Isaac said. "Today, if possible." The Reverend looked between them. "This is rather sudden. Are you certain?" "We are certain," Beatrice said firmly. "We have thought about this and talked about it, and we are ready." "Well then," Reverend Matthews said with a smile, "let me get my book. We will need witnesses. Let me send for some people." Within an hour, they had gathered a small group in the church. Reverend Matthews, Dutch Morrison and his wife Clara, Sheriff Bradley, and Sarah Collins with her husband. Martha and her husband from the general store arrived just as they were about to begin. Isaac stood at the front of the church with Beatrice beside him, and for the first time in years he felt complete. The The ceremony was simple but heartfelt. When the reverend asked if there were any objections, the church was silent. When he pronounced them husband and wife, Isaac kissed Beatrice again, and this time there was no hesitation, no careful gentleness. This was a kiss of commitment, of passion, of promises made and meant. The small group of witnesses congratulated them warmly. Clara Morrison hugged Beatrice and invited them to dinner the following week. Sarah Collins squeezed Beatrice's hand and whispered something that made Beatrice smile. Even the sheriff shook Isaac's hand and wished them well. They rode home as the sun was setting, husband and wife now. When they reached the ranch, Isaac helped Beatrice down from her horse and held her close. "Are you happy?" he asked. "Happier than I ever thought I could be," Beatrice said. "You gave me a chance when no one else would. You believed in me. You saw past the rumors and the accusations to who I really am." "I saw a strong, brave, beautiful woman," Isaac said. "That is all I needed to see." That night they truly became husband and wife in every sense. Isaac was gentle with Beatrice, patient and careful, and she responded with a passion that surprised them both. Afterward they lay together in the darkness, her head on his chest, his arms around her. "I love you," Beatrice whispered. "I do not think I realized it until today, but I love you, Isaac." "I love you too," Isaac said, and meant it with every fiber of his being. The following weeks passed in a blur of happiness. They worked the ranch together, falling into an easy partnership. Beatrice proved to be capable with cattle, not afraid to get dirty or to work hard. Isaac found that having her by his side made every task easier, more enjoyable. One morning, about a month after their wedding, a rider appeared on the horizon. Isaac was immediately on alert, but as the rider drew closer, he relaxed slightly. It was a young man wearing a telegram messenger's uniform from Abilene. "Telegram for Mrs. Kellerman," the messenger said, handing over the paper. Beatrice opened it with shaking hands, clearly fearing more trouble from Gerald. But as she read, her expression changed from fear to shock to something like relief. "What is it?" Isaac asked. "It is from Gerald's sister, Elizabeth," Beatrice said. "She says that Gerald has been arrested for assault. Apparently, he became engaged to another woman, and when she tried to break it off, he attacked her. She filed charges, and when they investigated, they found other women who came forward with similar stories. Gerald is in jail awaiting trial." "So it is over," Isaac said. "Elizabeth apologizes for not believing me," Beatrice continued reading. "She says she always suspected Gerald had a dark side, but their family kept it hidden. She wanted me to know that my name has been cleared in St. Louis. The accusations of theft and fraud have been withdrawn. Everyone knows now that I was telling the truth." Beatrice looked up at Isaac with tears streaming down her face. "It is really over. I am free." Isaac pulled her into his arms. "You were always free from the moment you left him, but I am glad the truth has come out. Glad that he cannot hurt anyone else." "We should celebrate," Beatrice said. "How do you want to celebrate?" Isaac asked. Beatrice smiled. "By living our lives, by being happy. That is the best revenge against someone like Gerald, do you not think, to be truly, completely happy?" As spring turned into summer, their happiness only grew. The ranch flourished. The cattle multiplied. The garden produced more vegetables than they could eat, so they started selling the surplus in town. Beatrice made friends with the other ranch wives in the area, forming a small social circle that would gather for quilting bees and church socials. In late July, Beatrice came to Isaac with news that made his heart soar. "I am going to have a baby," she said. "The doctor in town confirmed it yesterday." Isaac picked her up and spun her around, both of them laughing. "That is the best news I have ever heard." "When, early February, he thinks," Beatrice said. "We are going to be parents, Isaac. We are going to be a family," Isaac corrected. "A real family." They began preparing for the baby immediately. Isaac built a cradle with his own hands, carving intricate designs into the wood. Beatrice sewed tiny clothes and blankets, her face glowing with happiness as she worked. As her pregnancy progressed, Isaac became even more protective of her, insisting she rest more and work less. Beatrice tolerated his fussing with good humor, though she continued to help with ranch work as long as she was able. In December, the first real cold snap of the winter hit. Isaac came in from checking on the cattle to find Beatrice sitting by the fire, knitting something small and soft. "Another blanket?" he asked, kissing the top of her head. "You can never have too many blankets," Beatrice said, "especially in February. Are you nervous?" Isaac asked, sitting beside her. "A little," Beatrice admitted, "but mostly I am excited and grateful. A year ago I was alone in St. Louis, afraid and running from my past. Now I have you and this ranch and our baby coming. It feels like a miracle." "You are the miracle," Isaac said. "You came into my life and changed everything." Their son was born on a cold February morning in 1883. Beatrice labored through the night with Isaac by her side and Clara Morrison helping as midwife. When the baby finally arrived, healthy and squalling, Isaac felt tears on his face for the first time since his mother's death. "He is perfect," Beatrice said, exhausted but radiant as she held their son. "What should we name him?" They had discussed names for months. "I was thinking," Isaac said carefully, "maybe we could call him Samuel. That was my father's name." "Samuel Kellerman," Beatrice said, trying it out. "I like it, Sam for short." Little Sam was a good baby, healthy and strong. He had Beatrice's green eyes and Isaac's dark hair. As the months passed, he grew quickly, hitting all the milestones that Clara assured them were normal. Life settled into a new rhythm, now centered around their son. Isaac found that fatherhood suited him. He loved holding Sam, talking to him, showing him the ranch even though the baby was far too young to understand. Beatrice proved to be a devoted mother, patient and loving, somehow managing to care for Sam while still helping Isaac with the ranch work. One evening in late summer, when Sam was 6 months old, they sat on the porch watching the sunset. Sam was sleeping in Beatrice's arms, and Isaac had his arm around both of them. "I have been thinking," Beatrice said, "about how much has changed in a year and a half. From the moment I stepped off that stage to now, sometimes it does not feel real." "It is real," Isaac said. "All of this, us, Sam, this life we are building." "I know," Beatrice said, "but sometimes I still cannot believe how lucky I am that you took a chance on me. That you gave me a fresh start." "We gave each other a fresh start," Isaac corrected. "I was just as lonely as you were, just as desperate for something real." "Do you think we would have found each other if I had not answered that mail-order bride advertisement?" Beatrice asked. "I do not know," Isaac said honestly, "but I am grateful we did find each other, however it happened." The years passed in a succession of seasons. Sam grew from a baby to a toddler to a young boy, curious and fearless. When he was 3, Beatrice gave birth to a daughter they named Grace, a tiny girl with Beatrice's blonde hair and Isaac's determination. 2 years later came another son, Henry, who was quieter than his siblings but possessed a sharp intelligence. The ranch grew along with the family. Isaac expanded his herd to 500 head, then 700. He hired 2 ranch hands to help with the work. The house was expanded to accommodate the growing family, with new bedrooms added and a larger kitchen. Beatrice became a pillar of the Abilene community. She organized a school for the ranch children, hosting classes in their home twice a week. She was known for her kindness and her practical wisdom, and women from all over the area would seek her advice. The story of how she and Isaac met became something of a legend in Abilene. People spoke of how the lonely cowboy had stood up to the whole town and said that everyone deserved a chance to start fresh. They spoke of how Beatrice had overcome her scandalous reputation through hard work and dedication. And they spoke of the love that had grown between them, a love that was evident to anyone who saw them together. One spring day when Sam was 10, Grace was 7, and Henry was 5, a letter arrived from St. Louis. It was from Elizabeth Winters, Gerald's sister, whom Beatrice had not heard from in years. The letter explained that Gerald had been in prison for 7 years and had died there, succumbing to an illness. Elizabeth wanted Beatrice to know so that she could have full closure. The letter also mentioned that Elizabeth had married and had children of her own, and that she often thought of Beatrice and hoped she was happy. Beatrice showed the letter to Isaac that evening after the children were in bed. "How do you feel?" Isaac asked. "Sad," Beatrice said. "Not for Gerald exactly, but sad that his life took the path it did. Sad that he hurt so many people, and relieved. I know he has been gone from my life for years, but knowing he is truly gone, that he can never come back and try to disrupt what we have built, that brings a certain peace." "You are a good person," Isaac said, "to feel compassion even for someone who hurt you so badly." "I think I can afford to be compassionate now," Beatrice said. "I am happy, truly happy. Gerald did not win. He tried to ruin me, but instead I found you. I found this life. I found everything I ever wanted." "We found everything together," Isaac said. As their children grew older, Beatrice and Isaac made sure to teach them the values they believed in. They taught them about hard work and dedication, about treating others with respect regardless of their past or their circumstances. They taught them that everyone deserves a second chance, that redemption is possible, that love can heal even the deepest wounds. Sam grew into a young man very much like his father, strong, honest, with a natural talent for ranching. Grace had her mother's intelligence and compassion, always looking out for those less fortunate. Henry surprised everyone by showing an interest in books and learning, declaring at age 8 that he wanted to become a lawyer and help people who could not help themselves. On their 15th wedding anniversary, Isaac took Beatrice back to the spot where he had first proposed to her in the garden. The garden had grown over the years, now a lush space that provided vegetables, herbs, and flowers for the family. "You remember this place?" Isaac asked. "Of course I do," Beatrice said. "This is where you asked me to marry you." "I wanted to bring you back here," Isaac said, "to tell you that I would make that choice again every single day. Choosing you was the best decision I ever made. And you were my saving grace," Beatrice said. "You saw past the rumors and the scandal to who I really was. You gave me the chance to prove myself. And more than that, you loved me, truly loved me for exactly who I am." "I will always love you," Isaac said, "until my last breath." They kissed there in the garden, surrounded by the fruits of their labor, the physical representation of everything they had built together. When they walked back to the house, hand in hand, their children were waiting on the porch with a cake Clara Morrison had helped them bake and decorate. The years continued to pass. Sam fell in love with Sarah Collins's daughter and married her, building his own house on a portion of the Kellerman ranch. Grace met a young teacher in Abilene and married him, moving into town but visiting the ranch frequently. Henry went away to school in Austin to study law, writing long letters home about his studies and his dreams. Isaac and Beatrice grew older together, their hair turning gray, their faces marking with the lines of a life well lived. But their love never diminished. If anything, it grew stronger with each passing year, deepened by shared experiences and shared joys and shared sorrows. On their 25th wedding anniversary, the whole family gathered at the ranch for a celebration. Sam and his wife had 3 children now. Grace and her husband had 2. Even Henry had come home from Austin with a young woman he was courting, a fellow law student with sharp eyes and a quick smile. The house was full of laughter and noise and love. The tables groaned under the weight of food. The children ran wild in the yard, playing the same games their parents had played years before. As the sun set, Isaac and Beatrice slipped away from the celebration to sit on their porch, the same porch where they had spent countless evenings over the years. 25 years, Beatrice said. Sometimes it feels like yesterday that I stepped off that stage, so scared and unsure, and sometimes it feels like we have been together forever. Both are true, Isaac said. That is the strange thing about time. It moves fast and slow all at once. You have any regrets? Beatrice asked. Isaac considered the question seriously. Not a single one. Oh, there are things I might have done differently, choices I might have changed. But regrets? No. How can I regret anything when it led me to you, to our children, to this life? I feel the same way, Beatrice said. Even the hard times, even the painful parts of my past, they all led me here, and here is exactly where I am supposed to be. They sat in comfortable silence, watching the last light fade from the sky. Inside, they could hear their family laughing, talking, celebrating. Outside, the ranch stretched out around them, the land they had worked and loved and built into something lasting. I want to tell you something, Beatrice said. Something I have never told anyone, not even you. Isaac turned to look at her. What is it? When I was on that stage, coming to Abilene, I was so afraid, Beatrice said. Afraid you would reject me. Afraid the rumors would reach you first. Afraid I would never be able to escape my past. And I made a promise to myself. I promised that if you gave me a chance, just one chance, I would spend the rest of my life proving that I was worthy of it. Beatrice, Isaac said gently. Let me finish, Beatrice said. I want you to know that I kept that promise. Every day for 25 years I have tried to be the best wife, the best mother, the best person I could be. And it was never a burden. It was a joy. Because you never made me feel like I had to prove anything. You just loved me. From the very beginning, you just loved me. Tears were rolling down Isaac's cheeks now. And you loved me back. You took a rough cowboy with more dreams than sense, and you helped me build something remarkable. You made this house a home. You raised our children to be good, kind, strong people. You are the heart of this family, Beatrice. The heart of everything. They held each other as the stars came out, as they had held each other countless times before. Inside, someone started playing the piano, and voices rose in song. The celebration continued, but out on the porch, Isaac and Beatrice were content to simply be together, as they had been for a quarter century. More years passed. Isaac's hair went completely white. Beatrice developed arthritis in her hands but refused to stop gardening. They became grandparents many times over, and eventually great-grandparents. The ranch continued to thrive under Sam's management, though Isaac still insisted on helping with the work even when his children and grandchildren told him to rest. On a warm spring day in 1907, Isaac and Beatrice celebrated their 42nd wedding anniversary. They were both 70 years old now, still living in the house Isaac had built so long ago, though it had been expanded and modernized over the years. Their children and grandchildren gathered again, a crowd so large they spilled out of the house and into the yard. Someone asked Isaac to tell the story of how he and Beatrice met, and though he had told it 100 times before, he told it again. He talked about the telegram warning him about Beatrice's reputation. He talked about standing in the post office, deciding whether to turn her away or give her a chance. He talked about seeing her step off the stage, scared but brave. He talked about bringing her home and hearing her story and choosing to believe in her. The whole town thought I was a fool, Isaac said, his voice still strong despite his age. They said I should send her back, find someone else, someone without a past. But I looked at Beatrice, and I saw something they did not see. I saw a woman who had the courage to leave a bad situation, even when it cost her everything. I saw a woman who was willing to travel across the country alone to start over. And I thought, that is the kind of woman I want by my side. And I looked at Isaac, Beatrice added, her voice softer but clear, and I saw a man who was willing to judge me for who I was, not for what other people said about me. A man who offered me the one thing I needed most, a fresh start. He said, start fresh with me, and I did. And it was the best decision I ever made. The family applauded, and there were more than a few tears. The younger grandchildren who had heard the story many times still found it romantic. The older ones who understood more of what Isaac and Beatrice had overcome found it inspiring. As the party wound down and people began to leave, Isaac and Beatrice stood in the yard, waving goodbye to the last of their guests. When everyone was gone and the house was quiet again, they walked through the rooms together, looking at the pictures on the walls, the furniture they had collected over the years, the evidence of a life well lived. We did good, Isaac said. Did we not? We did very good, Beatrice agreed. That night they lay in bed together, holding hands in the darkness as they had done for 42 years. Beatrice fell asleep first, her breathing deep and even. Isaac lay awake a while longer, thinking about everything they had been through, everything they had built, everything they had become. He thought about that young cowboy who had stood in the Abilene post office, holding a telegram and making a choice that would change his life forever. He thought about the young woman who had stepped off the stage with nothing but a carpet bag and a desperate hope for a new beginning. And he thought about how love, real love, could transform everything. How it could turn two lonely people into a family. How it could turn a simple ranch into a home. How it could turn a scandalous reputation into a story of redemption. He squeezed Beatrice's hand gently, and even in sleep she squeezed back. And Isaac smiled in the darkness, grateful beyond words for every moment, every day, every year they had shared. Years continued to pass, each one precious. Isaac and Beatrice watched their grandchildren grow up and have children of their own. The ranch expanded further, now worked by 3 generations of Kellermans. The little house Isaac had built with his own hands became a landmark, preserved as the original homestead even as newer, larger buildings were constructed around it. In the summer of 1912, Isaac and Beatrice celebrated their 47th wedding anniversary. Isaac was 75 now, Beatrice the same age. They moved more slowly than they once had, and they both tired more easily. But their minds were still sharp, and their love for each other had never wavered. On a particularly beautiful evening in September, they sat together on their porch, watching the sunset as they had done thousands of times before. The sky was painted in brilliant shades of orange and pink and purple, and a cool breeze brought relief from the day's heat. "This is my favorite time of day," Beatrice said, "always has been." "Mine too," Isaac said, "though I think it is less about the sunset and more about sharing it with you." Beatrice laughed. "You old romantic, guilty as charged," Isaac said. They sat in comfortable silence for a while, watching the light fade. Then Beatrice spoke again, her voice thoughtful. "You remember what I said on that first day, about how the open space felt freeing, like you could be anyone, like the past did not matter as much as what you do next?" "I remember," Isaac said. "I was right," Beatrice said. This place, this life, it gave me the freedom to become who I was always meant to be, and you gave me the courage to embrace that freedom. We gave each other freedom, Isaac said. Freedom to love, to build, to dream. That is what marriage should be. Not a cage, but wings. Wings, Beatrice repeated. I like that. As the stars began to appear one by one, Isaac helped Beatrice to her feet. They walked inside together, moving slowly, taking their time. There was no need to rush. They had all the time in the world, and they intended to savor every moment of it. In the years that followed, Isaac and Beatrice remained active in their community despite their advanced age. They attended church every Sunday when weather and health permitted. They welcomed a steady stream of children, grandchildren, and great-grandchildren to their home. They celebrated every anniversary, every birthday, every milestone with gratitude and joy. On their 50th wedding anniversary in 1915, the whole town of Abilene turned out to celebrate with them. The mayor gave a speech about how Isaac and Beatrice Kellerman represented the best of Texas values: hard work, loyalty, faith, and love. The preacher, a young man who had not even been born when Isaac and Beatrice married, spoke about how their love story inspired his own faith in goodness and redemption. Isaac and Beatrice stood together in front of the crowd, holding hands as always, and Isaac spoke. 50 years ago, he said, I made a decision that a lot of people thought was foolish. I chose to believe in a woman everyone else had written off. I chose love over caution, hope over fear, and that decision gave me everything good in my life. It gave me Beatrice. It gave me our children. It gave me all of you, this community that we have been proud to be part of. He turned to Beatrice. I would make that choice again in a heartbeat. Every day for 50 years has been a gift. Beatrice smiled through her tears. And you gave me the greatest gift of all, belief. You believed in me when no one else did. You saw the person I could become, not the person others said I was. You offered me a fresh start, and you walked beside me every step of the way. I love you, Isaac Kellerman. I have loved you since that first day, and I will love you until my last breath. They kissed then, to the cheers and applause of the crowd. Two people who had proven that love could overcome anything, that fresh starts were possible, that the past did not have to define the future. The celebration lasted long into the night, with food and music and dancing. Isaac and Beatrice sat together, watching their family and friends celebrate, feeling deeply blessed by the life they had built together. As they grew even older, their health began to decline, as was inevitable. Isaac developed a persistent cough that worried everyone. Beatrice's arthritis grew worse, making movement painful. But they faced these challenges the same way they had faced everything else, together, with courage and grace and an unshakable faith in each other. In the spring of 1918, Isaac fell ill. What started as a simple cold turned into pneumonia. The doctor came out to the ranch and did what he could, but at 81 years old, Isaac's body was worn out from decades of hard work and hard living. Beatrice sat by his bedside day and night, holding his hand, talking to him, reminding him of all the good times they had shared. Their children came to say goodbye. Their grandchildren and great-grandchildren filed through, each one receiving a word of love or advice from the patriarch of the family. On a warm evening in May, with Beatrice sitting beside him and the window open to let in the spring air, Isaac took his final breath. He died peacefully, a smile on his face, holding the hand of the woman he had loved for 53 years. Beatrice mourned him deeply, but not desperately. She had had him for more than half a century, had built a beautiful life with him, had loved him and been loved by him completely. That was more than most people ever got, and she was grateful for every moment. She lived for another 3 years, spending her time with her family, tending her garden, and writing down the story of her life with Isaac so that future generations would know where they came from and what their grandparents had overcome. On a quiet morning in October 1921, Beatrice died in her sleep at the age of 84. She was buried next to Isaac in the Abilene Cemetery under a headstone that read, "Isaac and Beatrice Kellerman, together in life, together in death, together for eternity." They proved that love conquers all, that fresh starts are possible, and that courage combined with faith can overcome any obstacle. Their story lived on through their descendants, through the ranch that still bore the Kellerman name, through the community they had helped build. And every time someone in Abilene spoke of giving someone a second chance, of believing in redemption, of choosing love over fear, they would invoke the story of the mail-order bride with the terrible reputation and the lonely cowboy who said, "Start fresh with me." Because in the end, that was what their story was really about. The transformative power of love, the importance of seeing people for who they truly are rather than what others say about them, and the beautiful truth that it is never too late to start over, to build something new, to find happiness. Isaac and Beatrice had proven that, and their legacy continued to inspire long after they were gone. The ranch they had built together continued to thrive for generations, a testament to the strength of their love and the wisdom of Isaac's choice to believe in second chances. And somewhere under the vast Texas sky, in the land they had loved and worked and called home, their spirits remained, forever intertwined, forever together, forever proving that true love really can conquer all.